Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and I love to make fun fold cards and share stuff with you, so hopefully you're enjoying. Today I'm going to work with the lovely flowing flowers. So this is a beautiful stamp set that I think is possibly a little bit not invisible as such, but just didn't jump out at me initially until I started to see some creations made with it. And the reason for that is it's a distinctive stamp. So in the grey it kind of looks a bit, but when you add some colour to it, you get the most beautiful flowers, as you can see here. So this is just a fun, pretty card using the flowing flowers and also the beautiful shapes dies. Now these are some dies where I've bought the dies and I haven't bought the coordinating stamp set because I just love them. I love the hexagons because you've got them in all shapes and in all sizes. You've then got circles, some really useful ones, and this beautiful one with the extra embossing. You can see there. And then you've got these lovely kind of squovels, sort of ovally kind of pebbly shapes almost, again with some embossing just on the, hopefully you can see, just on the edge there as well. So really useful, lovely, lovely dies to use. And I just thought they just worked. It would be nice to make a little card with a little bit of an aperture. Just a bit of fun really, but I love the font of this for the happy birthday too. And I wanted to share as well how using our markers on stamps direct, if you're starting out, to get all 5 in colours is a significant purchase, whereas you can get all 5 of the colours with the markers. And it's one of the first things I usually get with the new in colours, because it means that I have got all of the colours straight away without having to buy the ink pads. And sometimes with some of the colours as well, you want to work with them a little bit, play around before you decide whether you're going to buy them or not. So that's what I do. Another thing that I don't very often share, but is an essential bit of kit, is the Stampin Scrub. So this is our cleaning tool. We have got the chamois, and that is wonderful, but I find that this is just great because not only can you clean it on this side, you then dry it on this side, and your stamp is perfectly clean and dry and ready to go. So if you're going to buy a bit of kit, that's, to me, one of the essentials. But you probably want to know how I've made this card. So let's get started. To start off with then, you're going to need a piece of half sheet of A4 to make into a 10th fold card. So this piece, I'm just going to trim it down to 14.5 centimetres. And it's 21 centimetres wide. And I'm just going to score that, therefore, at 10.5 to create my 10th fold card. So that's my basic card. You then want 2 pieces of cardstock for our layers, and these are 14 by 10, so just half a centimetre, 1/4 of an inch smaller than the basic card. And you're then going to want a piece of contrast colour for that little aperture, and it doesn't really matter what size it is as long as it's big enough to take the die and get a bit smaller as well. So I'm kind of going to go then, this is about 8 by 8, so I reckon that's probably about the sort of size. So I'm just going to take a piece there that was just a scrap that I happened to have. So there's my sort of basics that I want. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to cut, well, you can do this one of 2 ways. You can either stamp it, then cut the aperture and use that on the inside here. That way you'll kind of get a seamless sort of flower, and then you can always add some extras. Or you can die cut it first, then stamp it. It's up to you really. I'm going to do it stamped, then I'm going to die cut that centre out. So I'm using this lovely image here, and I thought, because we go for polished pink, I'm going to make the main flower polished pink. I've got my soft succulent here, and then I'm going to use, I use Gorgeous Grape Highland Heather. This is very pale, but I think for those little dots it will be fine. So I'm going to colour my main image first, and I'm just going to, you can see, hold the marker to one side. So I'm just going to brush over that image, ink it up well, I'm going to do my leaves. The soft succulent is actually quite a, I always expect it to be paler than it actually is, but it's a really lovely colour. Okay, soft succulent. And then I'm going to come in with my fresh freesia. This is very pale, but just brush over that. And I probably should have done that one first because I don't want it really contaminate it with the darker colours. But I'll do that next time. So once you've done that, you really want to huff well and then to stamp that kind of in the middle of the card. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same again to do the outer edge. So I'm actually going to do my fresh freesia bits first. Soft succulent leaves. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm just putting the brush to one side and then the polished pink over the top there. Just add another flower. Actually, I need to have done my all of my leaves, need I? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is use my die cut. Use my die to cut it. What a load of waffle today. So I'm using the larger one of my die cuts and my dies, and I'm just going to pop that so that, to say, it's kind of most of that flower. Use a bit of tape just to pop that into position. You obviously don't want that moving about once you've got it nice and kind of square, like so. And at the same time, I'm going to die cut this smaller shape from these. You don't have to worry about that being perfectly straight because it's going to be hidden, and you can just adjust it and trim it down to how you need it. So I'm just going to pop that through my die cutting machine. Obviously this one won't work, although the dies will fit, because I'm doing a complete piece of card front. It won't work to pop it through the mini cut and emboss on this occasion. But obviously if you're just die cutting an image or a piece of card that you're going to use for another project, they will fit with the mini cut and emboss. So I've then got this one here. Okay, so before I add it onto the front, I'm going to add my my sentiment. I'm going to use my ink pad because I have got one, but you could use your marker to ink up your sentiment. I'm just going to hover and hopefully get that reasonably straight. Okay. And what I'm going to do is on the inside panel, I'm going to use my fresh freesia and on one of the smaller stamps. Again, you can use that. You can use your marker if you want to. Yeah, just use that. Really pretty. This one works very well with the hand penned suite as well. So lovely floral images on there. So that's going to go in the inside of the card. Now I'm going to just peel that off. Put my dies away so I don't lose them. And before I go any further, so this is the one I'm going to stamp the other side of this. So I'm just going to come across just with my polished pink. Give it a good huff. And there. And then I'm going to use my fresh freesia. And by huffing, what that does is it activates the ink. So obviously when you colour with a marker, it's obviously sort of starting to dry. So by huffing it, you just get a little bit more moisture on it, and it will activate as well. And you get the ink transferring well. So now what we want to do is we're going to line our piece up behind this. And you can see it's a little bit bigger than I need it to be. So I'm just going to trim that down, and you can use your trimmer or you can use your scissors. Either will work just as well. And I'm just going to probably leave about 1/2 centimetre on that. So just check. What you want to make sure is obviously you've got enough to glue it, but not enough that it's going to poke out from the side. And what I'm going to do now is actually run the adhesive just round the outer edge of my aperture rather than my piece of card. So lay my card down, then take my front layer and you're going to add that over the top. And that creates a really pretty frame. What I forgot to do, which the other thing is, what I would recommend you do is before you add that, so do as I say, not do as I do, just make a couple of marks on where that flower is going to be, where that aperture is. Because what you want to do is line that up, which obviously is much easier to do when you've got the full aperture. So I'm just doing an approximation. Pop it down, make sure you're happy. That's going to work reasonably well, and then you can just pop that down with some adhesive. So I've just made those little stuff arrows. Because it's hidden, you've still got time, if you weren't happy with the alignment, to move it. I think that works well enough. And then you can just pop your adhesive away. And then on the back here is where we're going to pop lots of dimensionals. And with the dimensionals, you really want to make sure it's well supported around the aperture. So I'm just going to put one on each of those, because you don't want it squashing down. Then pop one out into the corners and on that edge. Top edge, just make sure it sort of looks like it's well supported, and then we can peel those off. You can see new sheet of dimensionals. Haven't had time to put my marks on the back, which is what I usually do, isn't it? So I can see where I've taken the backs off or not. And then keeping with your card flat and open, you're just going to line that up on the front, and you get that pretty shadow effect. Pop our adhesive on our inner panel. It's darker card, hence that we're popping a piece of white on the inside. Make sure you've got the right layer, opening the right way. And there we have our pair of pretty Flowing Flowers cards with our beautiful dies aperture. And I think I'd be delighted to receive a card like that. I hope you would too. You could always add some pearls or embellishments if you wanted to afterwards. So something like our classic matte dots or our pearls would work really well. I've got some here. So all you just need to do is take your pick and add a few pearls on there, she says. Oh, looks like mine needs replacing. But here we go. 3 little pearls scattered in the flowers, just to add a little fun. So thanks for watching. Come back and see me again soon, and let me know what you think. Bye now.